Okay, so I'm joined today by Chris Hope, who's one of our amazing clients over here at Truth Fitness. You're coming up to towards the end of your 16-week program now, so I thought it would be a great idea just to jump on a call, record, a little bit about your journey and how it's going for you. But quickly before we do that, do you mind introducing yourself and tell us a bit about what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Chris Hope. I'm 57 years old now, and I've been in the aviation industry for about 40 years, just about. So I have a busy job as a chief operating officer, but also fly as well, which means obviously I have a busy exec-type lifestyle at times, but also fly and work shift patterns where you're sometimes working overnight, different time zones, which probably similar to lots of execs, I guess.
That was one of the big challenges, wasn't it? About your travel to Asia and back, and the way that can be, that can be pushed into your diary pretty short term as well. And I remember our initial conversation; that was a big part of this because you tried solutions in the past, and you just said it was too rigid because of the lifestyle,
Yeah,
because of the demands of your business and stuff
yeah.
like that. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about how the program has ebbed and flowed and flexed with you a little bit? That'd be great.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think coming into this, my history of managing, exercise and diet and so on has been very much one of a cycle, where periods of time where I have a big focus on exercising, managing diet, I'd lose weight, get into good shape, but then I'd go back and revert over a period of time back to doing the same kind of thing, and my weight would cycle up and down, and my fitness generally. And coming into this, I wanted to avoid doing that, and particularly I think as you get older, what we found is the cycle where you're trying to lose weight is one that needs a boot camp type approach to have any real difference. And actually, from doing that a couple of times, find that whilst that still can be quite effective in losing weight and toning up and getting greater fitness, it becomes much, much more difficult to sustain. And so actually, it's just kind of a shorter cycle where, at the end of that kind of period, you feel like you survived, got through it, achieved some goals, but you revert relatively quickly. And going to this program, I didn't want to do that. I wanted something that would adapt to, as you say, the kind of challenges of lifestyle, adapt to the fact that you get to an age where I don't really want to be on a boot camp for 12 weeks. And really was much more about small sustainable changes to lifestyle and to exercise rather than big boot camp type approach.
Yeah, I remember during our first conversations, you were worried about, I think, I hope you don't mind me sharing, but the way you described it was the program you did before was so intense that you couldn't wait for it to finish. So you your concern was that it's going to be so intensive that it's going to be very difficult to keep moving forward into the longer term. But with the program with us guys, it's kind of, it's helped you to work out more regularly. It's given you more of a handle on your nutrition. Do you want to tell us a bit about, the goals that you had, the kind of results that you've got as well? That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, I think the goal for me, and I think it is partly again to do with kind of age and time of life, was, let's say, getting noticeable improvements in diet, increasing fitness a little bit, increasing tone particularly, but out of that feeling that, energy levels are better and sleeping well. And that overall makes you feel better. And it's been effective at achieving that. I think the driver for me in terms of giving this program a try was that what's difficult is accepting. For me, that was about changing the inputs to ones that were manageable and see if the outputs delivered the results. Whereas previously, a lot of people have been very, very, very focused on the output, and it's really been the measures that they want. So for me, in this case, for example, weight loss was not the big goal. It's making small changes that help me feel better. And thinking reduction in weight was likely to come out of it. It should do, but not being overly driven by that. And that is something that's quite difficult, I think, for trainers to accept, because it's the big measure, one of the big measures, of course, that you'd ordinarily look at. So the idea that you've not got a big goal and achieving that in terms of weight loss as the main driver, I think is quite difficult for some people to get their head around. Whereas for me, that's not been the big goal. And in this case, I think what I found is that the program's very work well in adapting to what I want, and recognise that means that, have good weeks and bad weeks because of the ability to control diet and exercise, some weeks better than others, and accepting that the goals and the outcomes looking for are ones that suit me rather than necessarily the traditional big things that you want to tick off to show success from a training point of view.
Absolutely. I think that's where that bespoke part comes in. It's the goal that works for you is the most important part. and then building a program around that goal rather than saying, right, well, you have to lose this amount of weight. Otherwise, we haven't, ticked the box. So it's really interesting, actually, because I've noticed in our conversations how you've spoke about one of the challenges you had was when you're flying, right? And the food that you're given, and also when you're in a different time zone, a different country. How have you been able to navigate that side of things with this program compared to the ones you had
Um,
previously?
I think it started by accepting it's not going to be a perfect week when it's like that, but knowing that it's just better than it would have been because you can apply some of the principles that are helpful. So I think the program has been designed much more around this is a very rigid regime that you will follow. It adapts to a daily program, of course, but that can be adapted in a way that's realistic. Saying, look, on these days where that's difficult, just try and focus on doing these things that are more achievable, drinking enough water, for example, and accept that there'll be some days that are not great days. But there are days when you have a great day, and the overall effect is still better than it would have been. Previously I would have had those bad days. On good days, the good days wouldn't have been as good. So it's just being able to, take benefit where you can, but be realistic about it. And that's driven by my choice to not want to be too fanatical about it.
Yeah, of course. And like you say, it's because of your lifestyle, because of the demands of business, it's going to be quite difficult to just eat, a standard meal because it's going to have to be what's there. When you're flying, you told me before, you get given what you have to eat. When you're in a different country, it becomes a lot more difficult to eat the stuff that you can get here, right? So it's great to hear that. And from your side of things, and if there's someone watching this video, an executive business owner that's really busy like yourself, what would you say to them? How would you kind of describe to them how this program might be a good fit for them compared to a traditional, hardcore boot camp or transformation program?
Well, I think the advice to me is to start yourself knowing what it is you're trying to achieve, and that's a realistic goal and understanding what you think it's going to take to get there. So be very clear what your goals really are. It's very easy to fall into the mindset of what you think they should be, but think about what it is really you want and what are the parameters you want to work within that you think are realistic and sustainable. So for me, it was much more about small change that's sustainable, and sticking to that and not being overly fanatic for periods in a way that's not sustainable was important. So I think start with your own goals that you think are realistic, suit what you want, and then that's the good starting point for you guys. What I found then with you guys is you listen to that and adapt to it, so it becomes tailor made, and accept that's the measure, if you like, of success for me. I just encourage everybody to do the same. Be very clear yourself what you want to achieve, but be realistic about it.
Yeah, I think the realistic part's very important because, if you are running a business, if you're a senior executive and your time is squeezed and you've got, responsibilities around entertaining, flying, whatever it might be, you walking around with a six pack is quite difficult because you haven't got much time to, designate to working out and eating well. So I think what you've done is great. You've come at it with probably doing the program before help, right? Because you understood a bit more about what you actually wanted, coming at it from a realistic perspective. And what's funny now you say that is that when I have conversations with people, I'll often say, is that really what you want? Because this is what you're going to have to do to get to that goal. And they often say, right, I didn't think about that. I didn't realize it would take that amount of work, that amount of restriction. So how you've done it is great. But Chris, it's been great to work with you. I really appreciate you sharing your story a little bit. And looking forward to kind of pushing on for the next few weeks and see where it takes us.
Great. Thanks, Cam.
Fantastic. Chris, cheers, Chris.
Bye.